Welcome to episode number 4 of the Primetime Rundown, the Zoom interview series. I'm Joey Jarzynka. We cannot thank you enough for tuning in to the Eastern Observer, the Blackjack Media Networks, and a cross-promotional episode with the New York Professional Scouts. We thank those who are watching. We are joined, cannot be thankful enough to be joined by Fairleigh Dickinson University Knights right fielder Ross Mertz. Ross, how are you, buddy? It's been about 2 months since I've seen you, and it feels like it's been 6 years since I've seen you.
Oh, well, I mean, Joe, first of all, thanks for having me. I really appreciate you having me here. And you haven't changed a bit, in 6 years. I thought you had that same facial hair going on since you were 12. So, it's a good look.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
Everything's great. We're all staying home, staying safe, trying to enjoy what we got going on so far. So thanks for having me.
Good. Absolutely. And now that we are in quarantine, now that we are home, what has life been like for the Mertz family?
Well, we kind of prepared for this a little bit when we first heard about it. So we did a lot of food shopping to start off, if that definitely helped out. So now it's kind of just us all trying to keep with, my sister doing her schoolwork, my other sister with her teaching, and me kind of doing my schoolwork in baseball. So just my days are a lot of schoolwork and working out. And, whoever's not doing anything, my mom grabs them up to do some house chores.
Yeah, and you know what? You always have to make sure that you keep the house clean and do all of these projects, especially now, because you have the time and extra things that the parents and even you potentially would not really do if there wasn't this pandemic, obviously. So let's get into who Ross Mertz is. Talk about your brother, your sisters, how they've been a big influence on you, both in your life and during your baseball career thus far.
Well, I'll start with my oldest brother, Santo. He was drafted by the St. Louis Cardinals, and he was kind of the first person that I looked up to as a baseball player from a competitive standpoint, and just like his demeanor on and off the field is kind of something that I always wanted to replicate. And we always had that big brother, little brother competition, from just throwing around a baseball to, rock, paper, scissors or something. The competition, it always keeps on going. And he's helped me to become the player that I am today because he kind of taught me that competition, and I appreciate that out of him. And actually all my sisters, they've kind of just been a big support to me. They come to all my games. They're always cheering me on, even when I'm doing bad. And it's just a nice uplifting to have somebody always in your corner. And, my older sister plays golf. So she's also another person that, we were playing competition games with and everything. So it's just it's a big competitive household, and we're also pulling for one another. So it's something that's always been in the back of my mind when I'm on the field, and just trying to do everything right off the field too as well. So that's they played a big role in that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And knowing your family for many years, it's really been a blessing to know your family, because really, positivity runs through the veins of you guys. And knowing that you guys not only warm hearts, but also competitive, just all of the above for the Mertz family. Your sister played, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, she was close to the pros at one point.
She is, and she's still actually right now down in Florida.
Okay.
Still competing for it.
And how's she doing? And how's she doing with all of this, especially because now Florida's becoming a hot spot?
It's tough for her, because for me, I personally thought that she was right there. She was doing really well. She was practicing every day, and this kind of is another obstacle that she's going to have to get through. But she's got 4 other Mertz kids, pulling behind her. So once this is all over, I know that she's going to make her way up to the top.
Yeah, absolutely. And really we're all, like I said, we're all pulling for her. And I remember meeting her many years ago at a few dinners. And I remember having the conversation with her about, about her, the aspiring golfer in her. And now I remember when I saw you a few years ago and your dad had told me that she's there. I was like, wow, that's really unbelievable that just a few years ago, things can happen just in a blink of an eye like that. Really, really unbelievable for sure. Moving it forward though, now with your father, actually with your father Gary, he is a part of the New York Professional Scouts Association, but we'll get to the scouts part later for those that are watching. But let's talk about your dad Gary and what an influence he's been for you throughout your life and throughout your baseball or your budding baseball career.
So my dad's kind of like the foundation for everything. So he's the one that's taught all of us everything we know athletically, and he's been our number one supporter. Every time my brother, my sisters, or any of us had anything, he was always the first person to hop on a plane or get in the car and always come to our games. Uh, During competition, he's always trying to help us out, do whatever that he possibly can. But his biggest attribute is his knowledge that he's always bestowing on us before and after games, so that we can kind of become our own players. But it's nice to have the guidance of him constantly showing us the right way and wrong way of doing things, and just becoming a great overall athlete.
Yeah, and again, being the foundation. Again, the Gary that I know, going out to Los Angeles with him. I took your place there. I took your place going out to LA. I think it was your senior year of high school.
It's tough.
I think it was around there, right? It was your junior or senior year of high school when we had gone out there for the National Scouts dinner. Yeah, we missed you that year. It was like I said, I took your place, and your brother. We had a fun time.
Oh, I'm glad that you guys were having fun without me. I remember that phone call. I was like, "Oh, I'm ready. My bags are packed for California." And he was like,
"Yeah."
I was like, "Ah."
Yeah, that was a lot of fun in Beverly Hills. That was definitely a weekend to remember for sure, especially in the red carpet and over there. And if I'm not mistaken, I think did you go to the dinner this past year?
I did go this year.
You did. And who was there? I'm sure you saw Tommy Lasorda and all those guys.
Yeah, Alex Rodriguez also came.
Okay.
So it was nice. I told him that I was going to hit more home runs than him, so that was nice.
Wow. That's
kind of laughed it off.
That's pretty gutsy. Was Jennifer Lopez there with him or no?
No, unfortunately, she wasn't.
Okay.
She probably would have just laughed and told me to get out of here.
Most likely, yeah. She would have given you that Latina attitude for sure. So now, as we've now come full circle, and we were speaking about your junior, senior year of high school, and California and everything. And I remember we were talking about when I was out there with your dad, that he was thinking about, or you were thinking about Pepperdine at one point, and looking at some schools over there. Now, tell me, or tell us, the audience here, about the journey of Ross Mertz and how it all began for you with baseball. Talk about really who Ross Mertz is as a baseball player, and where you began.
So, when I was younger, we played a bunch of sports, but baseball is clearly the one that stuck out to me the most. And it was kind of always, it was baseball and academics that really was the two things that both of my parents were like, that's your forward pursuit. So I ended up choosing to go to Fordham. And I thought that it would be a good balance of both academics and baseball. It'd be a good fit for me. And honestly, I had a lot of fun there. I think Fordham was a great opportunity for me to better myself as a player and kind of further my understanding of kind of not taking things for granted. And with that being said, I kind of thought that it would be better for me to find opportunities elsewhere. And that's kind of where I led into me going to Adelphi. And, back to how my family and I are very competitive. You know, my dad, he was an All-American over there. He holds the home run record still over there. So I actually told him as a joke that I was going to go over there and beat his record. And then I actually went there, and I'm looking at my competition every day. I'd walk onto the field and his name's in left field. And I'm like, wow, my name's going to be on top of his name someday.
Yeah.
So, I ended up moving to Adelphi, my dad's alma mater, and had a lot of fun there too, honestly. But what the mistake that I made was I was following in my dad's footsteps when I kind of needed to find a path for myself. And, you know, honestly, that's kind of how the opportunity came at FDU, where it was something where it was close to home, good athletics, good academics. And, you know, I've probably had some of the most fun that I've had over there now. So just the journey from baseball, from school to school, it just keeps on enriching my knowledge of the game, and honestly why I love to play it so much. So the opportunities that came from all three schools is incredible, and I'm glad that I made the decision to come here, and I'm doing well with it.
So now at Fairleigh Dickinson, I was actually on the PA system for one of your games. I saw you. I think that was against the Manhattan game was canceled. Who was that? I think that was against Iona. Was that Iona, right? And and that was the game that you guys were ahead big. You guys, I think it was allowed. Was it a 3-run shot or was it a grand slam? I don't remember. It was something like that towards the end of the game. And I remember I couldn't believe it, where you guys were going to walk away with the win, and you guys won 12-11 in the bottom of the ninth. Could not believe it. You were in the game. A really competitive game too. So that really, you know, and not only that, also seeing you play was fantastic too. Telling your dad about it too was great as well. But then of course the season comes to a halt, and when I say a halt, I think everyone knows a screeching halt, where there was no control over any of it. And the NCAA gave you guys all spring sports student athletes an extra year of eligibility, which, again, I don't really talk about my personal opinion on here. I talk about that on my podcast, the Primetime Rundown, not here. But I want to get your thought of that now, because you are listed as a redshirt sophomore. So now you have another year of eligibility. So how does that affect you personally? And how would you take that extra year of eligibility?
So, you know, the first thing that I thought of was another year of eligibility, another year of baseball. You can't go wrong with that.
Right.
I mean, to be able to play baseball at any time in your life is a blessing. So, that's the way I kind of still see it as. I think another year is another chance for me to go out there and play the sport that I love the most. It's also a good way for me to continue with my studies and do more for my school and get more involved. So I think the extra year kind of gives me a slightly longer timetable to accomplish whatever I would like to do academically and athletically. So baseball wise, you know, hopefully bringing FDU to a championship and us doing well and just playing well for myself. I think everything kind of falls into line with that. So I'm glad I get the extra year to prepare to do that.
Now you get the extra year. And again, we spoke about the screeching halt. What did it feel like being told that you're done? Because obviously, you know, towards the end of the season, you're aware that it's coming. You're aware that it's the end of May. It's going to be the conference tournament. And also you are now in a top tier division in a mid-major, but still in baseball, it's a top tier conference. So you have Bryant, you have CCSU, you have you guys, FDU, Wagner. And that would have been your first time playing at a ballpark such as the Staten Island Yankees ballpark, Richmond County ballpark in Staten Island. And then you'd be going up to Rhode Island to play in the NEC tournament, which would have been, I'm assuming, a lot of fun. And I know by me working in the NEC myself at St. Francis College in Brooklyn, those tournaments are a lot of fun. And whether it's basketball, whether it's baseball, water polo, whatever sport it is, it's a lot of fun come championship time because the competitiveness is just key, regardless of record too. You put your heart on the sleeve, or you heart on your sleeve, and you go out and you give it your all. So what did it feel like coming to a halt in March during non-conference play?
It was definitely tough. Our coach Rob DeToma actually gave us a little speech before our last practice, saying how the NEC was going to be making a final decision on what was going on, and we kind of that practice was slightly different than all the other practices because every other day everybody is fighting, competing for spots. Everyone's having a blast and everything. And that last practice, it was a little bit more gloomy, I would say, because we all kind of knew what's been going on around the league, with the March Madness basketball tournament getting canceled, and everybody, it was in the back of everyone's heads, like, this is probably going to be it for us. So it definitely wasn't easy, especially for some of the older kids on our team, not knowing if we're going to be able to come back to play. And it was definitely tough going back into that locker room and hearing that we're done. Once we were finished with practice, coach came into the locker room and told everybody what the NEC told us. We had like 12 hours or something to get off campus and go back home. And it just seemed like we were in like a video game, just over like a bad dream. It hit us hard because we were a week away from conference play, and we were jacked up. We were excited, and for it to stop like that. And, now this is like the new normal for us living here in these conditions. It's tough. The only baseball I get to do is, having a catch in my backyard, as opposed to me being on the field with all my brothers and competing for everything, for wins and spots and everything. And it's tough. It definitely wasn't easy.
And with it not being easy, the possibility of, and we'll get to this later, with the professionals potentially not playing in front of fans starting in May and in June, we don't know yet. Golf will be coming back in June. We'll have more on that later and tomorrow on the Primetime Rundown. But sticking to topic here, I can't even imagine, because just by thinking that this is stuff that's out, that you've read in the history books, and we've read about the Spanish flu, the Black Plague, the Black Death, the Yellow Fever, and you say to yourself, well, that was a long time ago, and it's not going to happen now. And this is something that is something that we'll never forget. And I know you'll never forget where you were when your coach told you. I know I'll never forget where I was, Madison Square Garden, the Big East tournament. I remember when it was considered, or it was declared, a pandemic. It's something that, every generation will go through. And, I guess you'd be considered lucky if you don't have to go through it. And it stinks because this is something that will most likely change our life. It could potentially change your baseball career on how you play. And we don't know if we'll see fall college sports. We don't know if there's a possibility where we could see college football in the spring, that there's articles coming out. We could see college baseball. We don't know how it's going to be next year. If there's a vaccine, you guys could be playing with masks. Who knows? And boy, wouldn't that be weird? And you can't go out to your park now and throw a baseball, or hit off a tee. There's nothing you can do because everything is closed. And just to be, I don't want to say caged in, but that's really what it comes down to. It must be so hard for the athlete in you, especially because I know how hard you work. And what has, and this is an off-topic question that I will ask, and I'm gonna throw you a curveball here. But we've spoken about this off camera. Head coach Rob DeToma. Now you're obviously on the team. You're the right fielder. What has he done for you to stay not only prepared but also stay active? Stay continue to exercise. That's the biggest thing. And I know you can exercise for days, years, your rest of your life, every single day. And you also eat like a horse too. So please. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Just because you gave me that salad at the dinner, doesn't mean.
Oh, well, the viewers should only see what's below here, please. They'll say you should take that salad back and potentially eat your salad.
Well, it was definitely delicious. I'm not gonna it. So Coach DeToma is very active with our Zoom meetings, and he's constantly in contact with us, kind of just keeping up. I know, this is all about baseball, but he's more than just a baseball coach. He's kind of a life coach. He's there for us as humans. And if a few of us are going through some tough times, he has stated countless times to like constantly reach out to him and the coaching staff. And all of them work really hard with baseball, but they understand too that what is going on. And honestly, like it could be going on with some of our own players, like with their families, what they're experiencing. So for baseball, they check in on us. We have meetings every week, and he sends us workout and exercise plans for us to do while we're at home. And we take this, we have a mentality in our school that it's 1-0 on our baseball team. We take every day and we want to be 1-0, and it's just an opportunity for us to get better. So we don't take every day and say at quarantine, quarantine this or quarantine that. We take it as an opportunity for us to get better, so that when we are allowed to be on the field together, that we're going to be, right where we left off. So I think they've done a phenomenal job.
Now, being 1-0, having the going back to what you were talking about earlier with your teammates, with your brothers, quote unquote brothers. Some of them are seniors. Not only some of them are seniors, but also a part of the NCAA's ruling when they gave the extra year of eligibility. And I didn't ask this in chronological order. But there's a little blurb and mention in there that it's also up to the school if they have the budget for that player. So, and I'm not saying anything about FDU, but I'm saying in general, in all Division 1, 2, and 3, it's going to affect every single school. So for some players that potentially may not be brought back because of, let's say, a financial issue or something along those lines where it doesn't meet that criteria. Do you know or have any other friends like in other sports during the spring season where it has impacted them, and what's their thought process if you've spoken to them recently?
So I have a few senior friends, especially at my previous schools, who have played baseball with, and they kind of see this as like a worst case scenario, which, it really is tough. Nobody could prepare for this, but there's also two ways that they feel like that they can go, which either way is honestly, none of them's wrong. They could either go back to school to have the opportunity to play, and, which is phenomenal. Who wouldn't want to be playing the sport that they love? Or they go into the workforce and then they continue on with their lives. And honestly, all of them that I've spoken with, they all say how it's really up to the school, like the NCAA said, they all want to play, and, it would be tragic for their senior year to be ended like this, and if they have the opportunity to play, they said that they're going to do whatever it takes. to get back onto the field one more time. But if something isn't, if the cards aren't in the mix, then it's time to move on.
Yeah, and it wasn't their time. That's another, exactly what you said, taking the words right out of your mouth. Another obstacle that has to be, that you have to try and leap over. Now, leaning towards the academic side of things, you were saying earlier, you were talking about athletics and academics, that your mom, your dad, your family, that is what you're focused on. And that is who Ross Mertz is. Now, being out of school and doing this remote learning, now during the season, I would assume you were taking online courses to begin with. So now you understand already how these online courses go. I mean, I know I did them when I was in school, but now just to see that it's involuntary, there's no going into school, there's to potentially hand in a paper, take a test, whatever it is. But then again, I've also been out of school for 2 years, so things have changed drastically in the last 2 years. And even when I was in high school 7 years ago, I can't believe it's been 7 years already. But things change drastically, and I can't even imagine how it is for you and how school is for you. How much, and this is God's honest question, how much are you actually learning, or like how much are you actually learning at home? Because you could get sidetracked, especially when you can't go out. Sometimes you can get fresh air, but you usually have the freedom to go out, get a bagel, get well, in your case, get go work out, then come back and do the assignment, whatever. But how is it for you? Is the process good, for even your friends too? Is there like a factor where it's difficult for them to stay focused?
Well, for me, I take academics kind of like how I take baseball. I think it's a competition. I want to get the best grade in the class, and having that mindset, I feel like helps me out with school. It helps me plan out my schedules for when I'm going to do certain assignments, and my professors have all taken into consideration, giving us more time for anything that we may be going through at this particular moment. So it helps me out with spacing of when I'm allowed to do assignments. I don't feel like I'm being overworked by having to do 6 different assignments for 6 different classes. For some of my other friends, they don't really have the motivation, and it's tough, and then the work just starts to pile up, and it could be a huge problem. So the way I kind of think of it is that it doesn't change a ton, because if you are in school, you still have the choice of going to class and having the motivation to do your homework and everything. So now we just get the luxury of doing it from our own home. So for me, it's easier. It's nicer that I get to do an assignment for an hour, 2 hours, and then I get to go work out and I get to see my family. And, my professors are on Zoom, and we're doing online courses, and I'm seeing them all the time. So there's definitely opportunities to be doing schoolwork and getting everything, up to par where it should be.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely, and like I said, I know you, how you are very, not only are you competitive, but you're also extremely smart too. And truthfully, I wish that I could have taken a page out of your playbook, because, it would have been a different situation where I could have gone to, where I would have ended up wherever. But we all take our different paths for select reasons. So, and again, and honestly, it is the best analogy that you've said. And this is something that I know for our viewers right now that they could potentially take, even that I could take as well. And for every interview that I've done so far, only 3 prior to this one, there's always something that I take out of it and from someone else's life that you learn. And in this one here, I could tell you right now, Ross, overcoming that obstacle. And that's the biggest thing that every single person on planet Earth right now is going to have to do in order to get past this whole pandemic. So again, really, amazing analogy, and I can't stress that enough. But now towards the we'll go into this seventh inning stretch here, and towards the latter part of the this interview and fun conversation that you and I have been having. Let's call it fun. How you and I met, and you and I have met, for those that are watching right now, in conjunction with the New York Pro Scouts Association. It's a little crossover / promotion for your father, Gary Mertz, who is a proud Scout Association member. You are as well. That makes, obviously that makes all of his children a part of the Scouts Association as well. So how we met at the Scouts dinner. My mom's best friend, Jimmy Holzer. I went there. I want to do whatever. Your dad, best friends with Jimmy Holzer. And that's how we met. So, and a lot of fun memories, that's for sure, about, when you were a little baby, when you were a little baby. Now about the Scouts organization, about the Scouts Association, for those that are watching, give us a little bit of background on what the Scouts have meant to you throughout your life.
So, the Scouts Association, it means everything to me. The Scouts are the people, who choose amateurs such as myself to have the opportunity to further my baseball career. And they're kind of like my lifeline to move on. And, they've been offering tryouts and workouts to showcase, my talents, but also everybody who wants to do this. And, I think it's really fantastic what they've done. I've had the privilege to meet a few of them, Joe Rigoli, the St. Louis Cardinals, Billy Blitzer from the Chicago Cubs, Cesar Prescott from the New York Yankees, and Sal Agustinelli and Dan Palumbo of the Philadelphia Phillies. And it's honestly, it's incredible. I think it's fun to be a part of their dinners. A lot of good food is going on over there.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's awesome. They gave me the opportunity to participate with Hank's Yanks, Cesar Prescott, Mark Wilson. And, I'd also like to say that my condolences to the Steinbrenner family on the passing of Hank Steinbrenner, because they meant the world to them, and it's a sad day for baseball to hear about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those that don't know, Hank Steinbrenner, co-owner of the New York Yankees, passed away just a few days ago at the age of 63 due to a quote, long-term illness, end quote. And then also Cesar Prescott as well. He's another one that has his turkey drives. Both myself, Mike Slavitt, went to one, which was absolutely amazing. Danny Palumbo was there. I think I did see your dad towards the end, I believe. I don't remember exactly, but it was about 2 years ago. And what he did in the Bronx for those residents is absolutely surreal. Another one with an amazing heart. He is an area code scout, which is one of the higher scouts. And usually those players, from what he told me, this is right out of his mouth, the players that he grabs for those select area code games, that's a big deal. Because if you're a part of that, it's very, very difficult to get or to be scouted first off, and then to be a part of a select group of players that he sees potential in. And not only does he see potential, but he's also a part of the most storied franchise in all of baseball, the New York Yankees. So really, it's an unbelievable group to know. It's an unbelievable group of people that both you and I have gotten to know. And especially for you as a baseball player, you can't know a better group of people than the aforementioned guys that you said, in Billy, in Joe Rigoli, in Cesar Prescott, Sal Agustinelli. Always get that name wrong, but and then also just like I said, the past few dinners, fantastic. I saw your ugly face. It's great. So it's really
I'm talking to somebody else.
That's true. Yeah. Oh man. but moving forward now with so again, the Scouts, amazing place for those that were watching Jesse Manning's interview earlier with Brooklyn Cyclones manager and skipper Ed Blankmeyer. Cannot thank you for tuning in here with Fairleigh Dickinson Knights right fielder Ross Mertz, the son of Scout Association member Gary Mertz. For those that are watching, thank you very much for tuning in to the Eastern Observer and the Blackjack Media Networks. Okay, now this question for you. Yankees fan, and I love that because, and I always show this every single time I bring it up because I live and breathe Yankees as all the time. Now you as a baseball player, the thought of an Arizona baseball start in May, isolation would be potentially, you wouldn't be able to go into the clubhouse. You wouldn't be able to go into the dugout. You'd have to go, they basically open up the, they don't have to open up the gate, and it would be some players would have to sit in the stands, and it would almost be like, you think about it, and it's almost like a little league game where you play in the park, you got the fence, you're going right out where usually the fans sit, and in the little makeshift dugout, you wouldn't be able to access that for MLB. Now, you think about that, and you think about, you put yourself in a professional's shoes. Talk about not only your fanism of the Yankees and how you became a Yankees fan, but also talk about the idea of potentially playing in Arizona in isolation for 162 games.
Well, personally for me, I think that MLB kind of threw the idea out there looking for some criticism, looking to see what the fans were thinking. Personally, I think that if they were to do such a thing, that it's because we all miss baseball, and we all love the sport, and if they were to do something of that, clearly everybody would be watching it because who doesn't want to watch baseball right now? But I just hope that if they would do something like that, that it's for the safety of the players, and we're already stuck in this pandemic with everybody being home. So if it's a good idea for having all of them get together just for some entertainment, I'm not sure. If they take all the right precautions, then let's do it. We all miss sports, and if MLB takes all the precautions that they should to make sure that the players are going to be all right, then let's get baseball going again.
Now, what would be your thought about being isolated, where you'd have to basically go to the ballpark, back to the hotel, etc., for 162 games, and you would be basically isolated for 5 consecutive months, not being able to see a soul other than your teammates? How would that make you feel as a professional? And I want to add in here, what would be the mentality of it? Would that affect your mental health as well, especially with the worrisome of you could be ill, you could be spreading it to someone else, your family back home, you have no idea what's going on, and then how that would take a toll on the game itself and your numbers, your statistics.
Well, you took the words right out of my mouth. The first thing is definitely mental health. Being isolated, baseball is a team sport. Whether you do good or bad, you're always surrounded by the same group of guys. So being a player, I'm very hard on myself, and what if I were to have a bad game and I'm isolated? It could be tough mentally, and that could hurt someone's career. It could hurt by the rest of your season by how you perform. So being isolated and being that baseball is a team sport, it raises a lot of red flags. And if they were to take that approach, I don't think it'd be a good idea. We've seen some pro players already speak out about how they wouldn't want to leave their family to live that lifestyle. And, I kind of agree with it. As of right now, we're all taking precaution to make sure that we're all safe and healthy. And I don't think that we should jeopardize it just for some entertainment. So
yeah, no, absolutely. And you're right. I mean, like I said, for those that want to hear my opinion, tune in tomorrow to the Primetime Rundown, and I'll give you my opinion on that. Finally, I want to ask this, because I did ask, and it's okay. How did you become a Yankees fan? How did you become a Yankees fan? And yeah, that's really the biggest question of all, the $1 million question.
So when I first realized that I loved to play baseball, my dream was to put on a Yankees uniform. And they were kind of like the first team I saw on television. And also my dad and brothers were Yankee fans. So I kind of was put into that. And once I kind of saw the pinstripe and how when I went to go see them play too for the first time, it's just, they act differently. And I think it's awesome. It's a culture that I want to be a part of. So, my dream is always to be playing against or with the Yankees. And that's why they're my favorite team.
I love to hear it, especially your demeanor, your attitude. It fits Yankees culture. Ross Mertz, ladies and gentlemen. Ross, I cannot thank you enough for joining me here on episode number 4 of the Primetime Rundown Zoom interview series. It's been a pleasure, brother. I really, really appreciate it.
Joe, I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely, especially during these times, we had to make sure that you get a good break in between your workouts. Now you can go work out now again and, eat the whole house and do your thing that you normally do, or do a few chores. But, it's been about 42 minutes here with Fairleigh Dickinson Knights right fielder Ross Mertz. Cannot thank him enough. Cannot also thank the guys doing this here. Everyone from Blackjack Media Networks, in conjunction with the New York Professional Scouts Association. Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow, episode number 22 of the Primetime Rundown will commence with my guys, Nick Partain, Tyler Riddell. We'll be speaking about the PGA Tour restarting. We'll be getting our opinions on if that is a good idea or not. Also, Tyler Riddell will be speaking with Golden Stick Wiffle Balls Mike Valenti, beginning at 7 p.m. Also, for this series, episode number 5 of the Primetime Rundown Zoom interview series will commence next Wednesday, April 22nd at 6 p.m. with WSJU St. John's University Radio Network's Anthony Tornatore. I'll be having one of my successors on from the radio station at St. John's. It will be a ton of fun. And also the next Scouts Minute for our partners here and our friends at the New York Professional Scouts Association will be on Saturday afternoon as we highlight the great scout Maurice Dutch Deutsch, who scouted John Candelaria, aka Candyman, and also Willie Randolph. For one last time, ladies and gentlemen, that's Ross Mertz, Fairleigh Dickinson Knights. I'm Joey Jarzynka saying so long, and we'll see you all tomorrow night, hopefully, on the Primetime Rundown and the Eastern Observer.